You know, on Garden Time, we haven't talked a lot about microclimates. We're going to change that today. I'm here with Melissa Burr, and we are standing in a beautiful vegetable garden, even though it's late in the year, at about 850, right? That's what your footage is?
Yeah.
So now, tell me where this is located and some of the difficulties you've had of doing it in this higher climate.
Absolutely. So we are standing on Chehalem Mountain, 850 feet. We're on the north side of Chehalem Mountain. And yeah, the climate here is unique. It's cooler than we find down on the valley floor.
Really?
So for instance, when I travel down to get groceries, you know, you're bundled up in the springtime and you're kind of sweating when you get to town. So I would say 5 to 10 degrees cooler during the growing season. So that's something to consider. And then for logistics of gardening, our season starts later. So I look for things to plant that are early ripening. And
so when you say later, I mean, there's a lot of times I sneak stuff out in April, probably shouldn't, but you know, April and May. When did you generally start putting the seedlings out into the vegetable garden?
I would say May for cool climate things like greens and beans and all that stuff, which might be a little late compared to other regions because we get a lot of rainfall here. The inches of rain.
Wow.
It's substantially different.
That is substantial.
Yeah, 38 is sort of average for the Willamette Valley.
Well, what about stuff like tomatoes, cucumbers, those warm weather? When do you get to put those out?
You have to be patient, which is super challenging. And really, if you're going to be doing it right, I think you need to be in the second week of June.
And do you find that at this height that there's anything like, do you find that the diseases, because you've lived in Portland, so you've had both type of experiences, are the pests different? Are the disease different? I ain't talking about bears and, you know, stuff like that, but, you know, insect pests, are those different here? Have you experienced that?
The one thing that I have seen is the powdery mildew pressure is higher. Like we were discussing, we have a lot of maple trees here.
It's all over.
Get it, yeah. So
and you really don't spray though, you just kind of let them go and collect the fruit as it happens.
Yeah, just sort of let it, if it's going to survive here, it's going to survive, and if it's not, it's not. It's my philosophy, really.
And that's a good philosophy. And then the insects really are only probably, I would think because it's so cool, they might be a little bit worse, like aphids and stuff.
I managed through that with some of the crops that I like, broccoli and cauliflower and such, but you have to be pretty proactive with dealing with the aphids for them. And
well, and even at this soil, I mean, you guys did a lot of work here, and there's some beautiful soil, you can feel it, but you even put beautiful raised beds here as well. And was there a reason was that for convenience, or what was the reason for the raised beds? Yeah,
there's a couple of reasons. Convenience for one. This was one large tilled up garden, and it just was too much space to manage, weeding wise and all that stuff. And then to help insulate and make a little warmer environment and amend the soil really well, we built these raised beds a few years ago.
Melissa, I must say that the wood that these are made out of, it looks very, very heavy duty.
It is, yeah. This is true 2x6 lumber, and yeah, it was milled at a mill in Yoder, the Yoder mill. It's a 4th generation family-owned mill that does all the custom work.
And I believe you've said it's over 100 years old now.
Yeah,
wow.
134 years old. It's really amazing.
They're really beautiful, by the way. So now you actually have a real job outside of gardening. So why don't we take a walk to that place and get some more information about microclimate gardening? Okay.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Now, we are standing in a wine tasting room, and I am here again with Melissa. Melissa, tell us why this is important to you, because this is your real job.
Correct, yes. We are here at Stoller Family Estate Winery in the Dundee Hills.
And so as a winemaker, what does that entail? What do you do here?
I am basically responsible for producing the bottle of wine, and what goes into that starts now, this time of year, when you pick your grapes.
Yeah.
When they come into the winery, how they ferment, what kind of blends you make out of them.
And I have to say that talking with you in your private garden about, you know, the elevation and the microclimates, all you have to do is look at the vineyards behind us here, and clearly there are some microclimates in there, but the Dundee Hills are specifically, there's a word that you were telling me about. Tell me about that meaning of the AV something.
AVA, the American Viticulture Area, and that's a recognized growing region, and there's several in the Willamette Valley. We're one of them, one of the larger. And the Dundee Hills that we're at is an island of hills. It's 80,000 acres here, and it's fairly temperate. We have the coastal hills that get a lot of the big storms coming in from the coast winds and such, and then the Chehalem Mountain, where we just were, gets a lot of the heavy rainfall and storms there. So we have warm nighttime growing.
So in essence, that's a kind of a microclimate, but then even within that, you can have a microclimate right here in the vineyards.
Absolutely. As you can see at the stratification, the vines go from 200 feet at the bottom to 650 at the top. So there's
And what are some of those, what are some differences that occur because of that?
Ripening. So basically when the grapes flower will differentiate. They start at the warmer elevation at the bottom, moving to the top, and that translates all the way down to harvest time when you harvest. So typically there's about a 2 to 3 week gap between the lower elevation to the top. Yes.
That much time just from that. Really, when you look at it, it doesn't look like there's that much difference, but there is, because it really ripens them differently.
Yeah, when you walk up there, you start to really notice the difference, especially at the end. So, absolutely.
And so then once that is done, you get to make this. And you know what I love about gardening is that, you know, we're all into edibles, and this is, to me, a type of edible. It's the wine. So, you know, if you're thinking to yourself, if you've never heard of Stoller's Family Estates, and you're thinking, wow, I'd like to try that, you have a wonderful tasting room here, and you can go to gardentime.tv. We'll click you over to their website to see the hours that they're open. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you so much, too. You bet.